Hello, class. Thank you for being here and for witnessing this presentation. This is going to be a video presentation of the third paper where I'm going to be following up on this in a group presentation towards the entire class. But here I'm going to be talking about just my paper and the argument that I'm formulating with my own personal objection and how I would respond to it. So, the question that I will be focusing on for my paper is whether or not knowledge is affected by social power structures. And in my argument, I'll be arguing not only that it is shaped by social power structures, but that it is dependent on them. So, knowledge does derive, in my argument, from those social power structures. What is knowledge? So, for the definition of knowledge that I will be using, I will be abiding by the traditional justified true belief definition, with the justified part being the reasons or evidence, the method of explaining, true being the truth value and the part that corresponds with reality, and belief is the matter of conviction. So, that is the personal part of that. And I know that some philosophers, such as Gettier, present problems with this definition, but they combat more the justified factor part. And the way that I separate this is that I'm going to be discussing more the true and the belief part in my argument. So those elements will be more related to what how I will be using this definition of knowledge. So in that way, I'm trying to avoid some of the problems posed by Gettier, but I'm just going to be focusing particularly in how social power structures affect beliefs, not necessarily truth, but beliefs. And because of that, that'll impact whether or not that knowledge itself is shaped by those social power structures. So if you take any civilization, for example, civilization A, in this civilization, there is internet access. So they have open access to the internet. They are able to go online and check websites from all different kinds of countries. Journalists or other people who share types of information don't have censorships imposed to them by social power structures, and people here just can access for the most part, information very easily. They also can gather knowledge about other cultures. They have methods of communicating with these other civilizations and other countries. And because of all this information that they're able to gather, it's things that are allowed to them by the social power structures that allow things like the internet and access to communication with other people in other countries. They form corresponding beliefs. And those beliefs is that humans have basic rights and that the government shouldn't hide things from its citizens. So those beliefs are based on the evidence that they gather with their access to that information, thus sort of impacting what kind of knowledge they're arriving to. Then, for example, if I turn to a different civilization, civilization C, there is heavy censorship in this civilization and obligatory demands for its citizens to show appreciation for the social power structures of the governing rulers. Let's say, for example, they have holidays where they must commemorate their rulers or show other forms of solidarity. And in that way, they have to articulate their appreciation for their government and social power structures. With these types of activities imposed to them by those social power structures and the fact that there is censorship or no ability to access. There's a lot of websites, for example, even though they do have access to some internet, most of the websites from other nations are censored or blocked. Then that disrupts the flow of information that they would otherwise be able to have. So their beliefs are in their own way shaped by those structures, and they have corresponding beliefs like respecting the government and believing in their own personal way of life because the government provides for them in their view. So their knowledge is shaped by the social power structure that governs them. In my argument, there could be a potential objection, and that is that even though one can say that knowledge is shaped by social power structures, this could risk epistemic relativism or making knowledge itself potentially relative, which has its problems because there would be no absolute knowledge if it was relative, and that could have its problems. However, I would respond that I'm not trying to make knowledge itself relative, but contextual. And by contextual, I mean that I'm placing it in the context of certain cultures or societies. And that way, it would be no problem with my argument where that knowledge is sort of contextualized by the government governing structures for as to how that would be contextualized in that situation. So if I make it contextual, that helps it avoid relativism, but still stay true to my argument. So that'll be my argument and how I'll be arguing for it in my paper. Thank you so much for watching.